Hey, Powerscalers, it's Angry Weeb, and I'm back. Please hit that subscribe and that like button down and below. You know, before we get into what the title's about, so I want to talk about. I had a run-in with this guy on my page, attempting to explain to me how it makes sense for Goku to be 2C Universal Plus, but placed under Tier 2 Multiversal tier in the versus Battle Wiki. This is his guy, his name Unreal King or whatever the fuck. So he goes on to explain to me and tell me that I am spreading lies and that I am not spreading any factual content. First, I want to say I am not spreading any lies. This is all canonized, facts. I'm not out here to spread bad vibes or talk down on anyone, but I am going to spread the truth. Now, speaking of someone, putting bad vibes out there, this guy stated at the end of everything, we had this, this discussion or this debate. At the end of everything, he deleted all his comments, after he said I was spreading lies. But the last thing he mentioned was the versus Battle Wiki is using calc stacking. Now, anyone that understands calc stacking is highly biased. It is a highly inconsistent method of tiering characters from different verses. For you, the versus Battle Wiki in the past, I don't know if they've used calc stacking, but I can definitely tell you, I did my research, they do not calc stack. So, at the very least, they are not so amateur of Powerscalers that they're calc stacking. Because if you go look at this forum page that I looked up, this veteran guy, he's explaining to a few of these other kind of novice Powerscalers or amateur Powerscalers why you should not calc stack. And you can tell he's a veteran because he's right. He understands why you shouldn't calc stack. Again, it gives inflated stats, inflated results from characters. Now, understanding, what calc stacking is, clearly, this guy who named, I don't know his name, Unskilled, doesn't understand that the versus Battle Wiki does not calc stack, at least so far from what I've seen. Now, he's making the claim they do. It's funny that he's saying I'm putting bad energy out there, but he's making the claim that the versus Battle Wiki calc stack. Anyone who's calc stacking and they're not properly using calc stacking is an amateur Powerscaler. Now, I know some of you are curious, what is calc stacking? Calc stacking is this basically, here, I'll explain it in this fashion. Let's start with Neo from the Matrix. Neo in the Matrix dodged bullets. So he is hypersonic, just like Atsushi Nakajima, because they both dodged bullets, correct? Again, not correct. What needs to be factored in are two things. Number one, Atsushi Nakajima was running towards the bullet while Neo either reacted at the hypersonic speed to the bullet or he slowed the bullet down. Those who understand what the Matrix is and what the One is, you have to understand Neo can warp reality. There was a lot of warping reality. The One is an anomaly of the Matrix. It's never fully stated whether Neo dodged those bullets and he has hypersonic speed or whether he warped reality and slowed the bullets down. We don't know. It's never stated in the Matrix, but that does need to be taken within context. It's hard to tell, and it's never stated whether Neo was warping reality, And that brings us down to number two. Atsushi Nakajima, he was moving towards the bullet. He also, not only was he moving towards the bullet, he caught the bullet in his mouth. So not only does Nakajima have true hypersonic speed because he was moving towards a bullet, he also has true hypersonic reaction speed because he caught the bullet while moving towards the bullet. It's easy to see who has the true hypersonic speed and who possibly maybe has hypersonic speed, but more than likely warp reality to dodge those bullets. If you look, Neo didn't do any movement when those bullets came by. This is the reason calc stacking is not a good practice for amateur power scalers, because it does not take within context as to the true nature of the feat, and it does not give ode to the writer of each verse equally. You don't know what the writer is trying to convey in those certain feats. You can only take what information has already been given and make a conclusive or a rounded deduction or deducement. Now, I want some of you Powerscalers to be vigilant, because a lot of these other YouTubers will hide calc stacking in their videos. I've even seen V.S.Battle calc stack. I've seen Seth the Programmer calc stack, and they've used that as a basis to prove another character is usually most people calc stack for speed. It can be used for power. Calc stacking, inappropriate calc stacking can and has been used for power. A lot of times it's used for speed though. Really, and I'm gonna say this, calc stacking can be utilized, but it should only, and saying only, be utilized when you are comparing two characters from the same verse. The reason it should only be utilized for two characters of the same verse is because those two characters are still binded by the laws of the verse that they are within, because they are part of the same verse and a part of the same writer. You can calc stack when you're talking about two characters from the same verse, but if you're calc stacking two characters from different verses, you're an amateur power scaler. And that's what, kind of what the veteran power scaler in the versus Battle Wiki, as you can see here, was trying to say. Now, he didn't say you can calc stack from different verses. I know that rule to be true because that's just what it is. I know you can calc stack with characters from the same verse. The only way calc stacking gets real kind of biased, inconsistent, and inflated is when we're talking about characters from two different verses. When people start calc stacking, and a lot of YouTubers do this, when people start calc stacking characters from two different verses, they're using a biased, inconsistent method, as I've stated just before with the Neo and that Sushi Nakajima comment. They have two different writers, which means they follow two different laws as far as their verses and the feats go. And these need to be considered and taken within context. Basically, Powerscalers, when you are debating someone who is calc stacking, it will be easy to find inconsistencies. And if they're calc stacking characters from two different verses, I would say, who depend on calc stacking easy by beating, there's power scalers who depend on calc stacking, and those power scalers can easily be beaten by in-depth research on the context of the feat calculation they're presenting. A lot of times, character A's feat has conditions or factors that character B's does not, that have been placed by the writer from character A and character B, and vice versa. These need to be honored. Calc stacking with characters from two different verses should be frowned upon. And if you're debating someone who is calc stacking from two different verses, you need to just blow holes in his argument, because it's gonna be easy. Because again, when you bring in the laws from the other writer to the other character, it's gonna cancel that out, because again, every character has to follow each writer's verse for that, each writer's law for that verse. Every character has to follow this. And when you're calc stacking, it is biased, inconsistent, and it will bring inflated results. And please hit that subscribe and like button in this angry weeb, and I'm out, guys. I appreciate you guys coming to the channel. Stay tuned for my next video.